Hello. Okay, welcome everyone. I hope you guys can hear me very well. My name is Engineer Dr. Uzor Onyia. I'm the one taking on this class today. We only have about 11 participants. Is that all we have in the class today? Who is the course rep, please?
Hello. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much. This is 2:04 and we need to start. Okay?
Okay, we have about 11 participants now.
How many are we supposed to be? How many are in the class?
We're about 23. 23.
Once we get to 15, we have to start, yeah?
Okay, let me notify them.
I will not have to wait for everybody.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the class, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir.
You're very much welcome. Please, to make this lecture easy for everyone, I will indulge everyone to kindly mute their mic if your background is noisy. Try and mute your mic so that you don't disrupt the class. Yeah.
It's okay, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. So how many are we now?
I think we're still 11.
Still 11?
Yeah. So I think maybe, I don't know if any other person have, you need to bring in any other person.
Carla, did you connect?
No, I have admitted everyone. So,
okay, let me put it on the group so I tell them that the class is, because it's not been long, we just finished the lecture. Maybe, okay, we're about 15 now.
Which one?
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me? Raise your hand so I know. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. 40% already. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Luca, please mute your speaker.
So another.
can everyone see the screen that I'm sharing?
Yes, sir.
Can everyone please make sure you are seeing the screen that I'm sharing, okay? Because that's the PowerPoint slide. Can we all see it?
Yes, we can see it. We can.
Okay. Okay. So how many are we now? We are more than 15?
No, we're not more than, we're exactly 15, including yourself. So we are 14.
We are 14.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we just take it to maybe some 5 more minutes so that we can get across to the rest?
Okay, no problem. Try and get across to the rest. 5 minutes and we'll start, please. 5 minutes is even too much. Yeah, let them hurry up. Let us start, yeah?
Let's make it 3 then.
Okay.
Mm.
Oh.
So how has the course been?
Well,
how has the program been?
The last one we had was fantastic.
Are you the class governor?
The assistant.
Where is the governor?
And let me call him.
He's
having
not
network issue. No, he's on.
He's missing in action. At this time, the leadership is there.
But that's why he has an assistant.
Well, that's true. You're right. That's why there is a teamwork.
Yeah.
So how has the program been? How has your course been so far? Can someone tell me? Emmanuel, is that Emmanuel Lefi what?
Yes, sir.
How has the program been in engineering management?
So far, so good. It's been interesting. We've been progressing. So far, so good. Even though for the current situation on ground, probably would have some other good events would have unfolded.
Okay.
But since when we started till now, it's been educating. Let me just use that word.
So how many courses do you offer outside entrepreneurial engineering?
It's 5 courses each per semester we've been doing so far.
So which other courses have you done this semester?
Okay, so we've done 2 already ahead of yours today. We've done industrial relations.
Okay.
Okay, industrial relations, and then the first one we had this morning was manufacturing process management.
Okay. That
so
is
yours
good.
is the 3rd for today, then we have 2 for tomorrow.
Okay, that is great. I can see Maram Livinus Woha.
Yeah, I'm here.
How are you, sir?
I'm okay.
So how are you finding the program?
Yes, I have been enjoying it at the comfort of my house. I'm in my room enjoying it.
Okay. Sure. Okay. I'm thinking that at the long run, this virtual classroom might be something interesting for all of us to exploit, especially many of us that are dealing with other working and studying as well, right?
Yes. Come in again.
I said that virtual classroom, the way we have it now, might be something that we all may consider in the future because of responsibility of work and family and places where all of you are coming from, right?
Yes, provided the school fees will come down.
The school fees cannot come down.
It has to come down.
No, it cannot come down. The knowledge is the same.
It cannot be the same.
No, the knowledge is even better. Let me tell you, Chukwuanya, right?
Yes.
Let me tell you something. There is more transparency now in the knowledge that you're getting than in the classroom. For instance, now I'm recording our class. So the quality of knowledge that is being impacted will be huge. Unlike in classroom, nobody has time to come and monitor the lecturer. Do you understand? So the quality of what you get now, everybody is sitting down properly, sitting up properly now. So don't ask for reduction in school fees. Okay, you guys are welcome. I'm trying to see everybody here. I can see Ebong MJO.
Present twice.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. What do you do? What do you do for a living? What's your profession?
I am a petroleum engineer and I'm working in one of the international oil companies
That's
as a
great.
business economist.
That's good. That's good. You're welcome to the class.
Thank you.
This class is usually, how many are we now? This class is usually very interactive because many of us are very experienced people in our different sectors of life that we are pursuing, and we are advanced and we have knowledge of field industry, practical application of knowledge. So that is usually a very interactive class, but the challenge that we might have is noise and disruption. So I wouldn't want all of us to, I would still want us to achieve that interaction that the class is known of. Because when you talk about entrepreneurship, you're talking about practical things that people are doing every day. So I want the class to be interactive. So I want everyone to, I can't see all of you because of my presentation slide, but if you have a question, I would suggest maybe you write it down, maybe at the end of the class, then you can ask your question. Then we can have as much time as permissible to go through any question that any of us or all of us will have. So instead of asking questions like we do in real classroom in between the classes, okay? I think that's the best way we can get the best result out of this, because I can't see all your faces at the same time. The maximum I can see is 6 people at the same time. I can see Onyia Uzor. Chief, with your red cap. How are you? Can you hear me, sir? Onyia Uzor, can you hear me, sir? Uzor, okay. You can hear me. That's fine. Okay, if I know Uzor, okay, good. Uzor, okay, good. Nice to meet you.
Yes, he's my brother.
Okay, that's nice. Nice to meet you. I can't call everybody by name, but if I didn't get to talk to you personally, know that I recognize you, okay? How many are we? Now there were 21 participants, so we should start, okay?
Yes.
Start. Okay, let me give you some preambles, yeah? Like I said, this course is very interactive course, and I would like everybody to try to maintain maximum silence in their background, please. Otherwise, we will be forced to mute our microphones. Please, everybody, if you know your background is noisy, please mute your microphone, please. So that I don't have to mute everyone then when you want to tell me something I can't hear. So mute your microphone if you know that your background is noisy. So like I said, this is a very interactive course by the process of teaching it. And I've sent you guys some materials. Some of those materials, you try to put them on your phone so that you can read them. I know that we are all very busy people. So you try to read even when you're going on a transport in your car and you're one driving, you can read. While you're in the office or before you sleep at night, you can read some of those articles and get more expanded knowledge and understanding of what we're talking about or what we're going to talk about. Then the classes for this course is going to be 3. We have 3 contexts. This is the first one, which is more of an introductory class. So we're going to understand what entrepreneurship is all about, entrepreneurial engineering, the relationship between entrepreneurial engineering, entrepreneurship and engineering. So, and then we're going to look at the skills that we need to develop because it has been established that for you to successfully develop yourself as an entrepreneur and achieve your intentions, your entrepreneurial intention, some skills are needed. You need to develop some skills. So we're going to look at those skills, and that will come in our subsequent classes. And we're going to look at business plan, development of business plan, and how to do it, and several others. So that is what the course is all about. 3 contacts of 2 hours each is not enough for you to learn entrepreneurial engineering. So we are going to maximize the time that we have, and you are going to do me a favor and read a lot. Like I said, put your article, I'll give you guys a lot of articles to read. Have them in your phone at your convenience, even before you sleep. 30 minutes before you sleep, you read as much as you can and then sleep. Okay? So we are all very much welcome to this class, and the class will have to begin now. Entrepreneurship is all about ideas. Yeah, it's all about ideas, how to develop ideas. So that's what this course is all about. And what we're looking at is what defines this course. What is the relationship between entrepreneurship and engineering? Someone will say, oh, engineering is a pure science course. And what does entrepreneurship have to do with it? Entrepreneurship is supposed to be, it should be about business. We're going to look at all those things in this introductory class. So my name is Engineer Uzor Onyia. I'm a member of Nigerian Society of Engineers. And in fact, I'm having this lecture with you guys from the Nigerian Society of Engineers headquarters. And my core areas of research is entrepreneurial engineering, innovation in engineering, knowledge, skills, and competencies in engineering and construction management. Those are my focus areas of research. I had my PhD in construction management and economics, had my master's in project management, construction project management, and I'm a civil engineer by practice. So you guys are welcome. So I want us to look at something on this picture that I've shown you guys on this background. If you look at this picture, you will see engineering and entrepreneurship here. And you will see the date here, you will see that it's 2015. And you come down here and you look on this table, high table, you will see some top men. These are the top leadership of Nigerian Society of Engineers in 2015. And this here are the leadership of the Young Engineers Forum. That's a subset of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. So, and the agenda of this Young Engineer Forum is all about entrepreneurship and engineering. So you are in the right place today because the course you're learning has been identified as the nucleus of engineering development in this modern society today. So where you are now is the right place you are. You are welcome to it. So we are going to pay attention and understand that what everyone is talking about, what everyone is interested in, what everyone is talking about, entrepreneurship and engineering, and that it is the future of engineering practice in Nigeria. That is what this course is all about, and that is what we are privileged to study today and to understand.
Hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, there are some people that are waiting for you to let them in.
I have done that already.
Okay. Okay. They just called me now.
Yes, I've
Okay.
muted them. Please tell them next
All right.
class, once it's 2 o'clock, I will not let anyone in. Discipline is part of what we are learning in this course. Okay? Once it's 2 o'clock, I will not let anyone in again. The course has started. I will take this because this is an introductory class. So let's look at holistically, let's look at engineering. What is engineering? What are people's perception of engineering? Because we will identify engineering, then we will identify entrepreneurship. So let's look at engineering, see some of the fundamental things that reputable and acknowledged people have said about engineering. Generally, we will say that engineering is the application of science and mathematics to solve human problems. Then, discussing that, we'll see that engineering is all about infrastructure, power supply, communication. These are the human problems that engineering addresses. And a very prominent person, the Duke of Edinburgh, said that anything else that is not built by God, that was not created by God, is invented by an engineer. So apart from problem solving, we are constantly always improving the living condition, the standard of human existence. So that is what engineering is all about. Always solving problems, always looking for better ways to improve the lives of people. So that is what Prince Philip said about engineering. After the war, Second World War, and even the First World War, everywhere was devastated, and things needs to be put back in place. Things needs to be fixed. Even during the war, roads need to be built, in order for the military to execute the war. And equipment need to be made, machines to be produced. So that is why the name of engineering is actually from origin military engineering, and we all basically know that background information about engineering. So that's why engineering is called military engineering, because of the services that it provided. So, and also, moving forward, the former president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Engineer Otis Anyeje, in his inauguration speech, said that one couldn't agree more with the Duke. Indeed, Nigeria today, with the career of oil, is completely stint, seriously badly damaged, and the only way the country is going to recover a sort of viability is through engineering. So eventually, not just the war that was fought, the First and Second World War that was fought, that the Prince Philip was talking about, that require engineering. In the current state of Nigeria, in our current economic development state, we need engineering. This is where we need engineering, because our dependence, according to what the former president of Nigerian Society said, our dependence on oil is worrisome. And now there is effort for us to diversify, and the present government is making emphasis on agriculture. Now, one of the reasons why we have not been able to succeed in our effort to diversify Nigerian economy is because we are ignoring the drivers of that economy, of economies anywhere in the world. It's engineering that engineers every economy. You can't do agriculture successfully without proper mechanization. This is 2020, and you cannot do agric mechanization without engineering. We cannot do ICT, you cannot do anything. Bioscience engineering, there's nothing basically you can do to drive an economy without engineering. So any leadership that is talking about diversifying any economy anywhere in the world must focus on engineering, must make emphasis on engineering, must elaborate the role that engineering plays in every economy. So that might be one of the reasons why Nigerian economy is having challenges. Now let's look at practicing engineering in Nigeria. Since we are saying that if our economy needs to be diversified, we all need to play our role as engineers, and that our government needs to recognize the role of engineering and encourage the practice of engineering in Nigeria. So let's look at the practice of engineering in Nigeria. There are several places and several roles that companies are licensed to practice engineer, or individuals are licensed to practice engineering in Nigeria. Like you have engineering contracting, that has to do with your public partnership, your tender and bidding contract, and the rest of it, all forms of contract, so that you can do as an engineer. You have that. So you have engineering services, and where you have the lab work, the testing, the strength of material, the strength of concrete, and all that, where you test all those things, and the logistics, the drilling, all the services that you can find that are lab connected or research connected, you can have them under engineering services. Then we have vendoring and machinery. I talked about agriculture as I was giving you overview of the course, that we need to recognize for us to practice agriculture. It's not just, it cannot just be a lip service. So we have that in engineering as a role. We have maintenance and fabrication and repair. So equipments that are produced, equipment that needs to do work both on sites, both in agri sector, both in lab, both in petroleum sector and every other sector, all of them are maintained. So these are areas that even us as individuals can register and practice in. So, and you have manufacturing. The good thing about all this area is that current licenses people in these areas. And when current licenses you, you can do any of them. All you need to do is have your firm registered, and if you want to register with current, then you have to have an engineer as the major shareholder of the firm. So you can do any of these courses, these programs, services of engineering that are practiced in Nigeria. All of them are open. So, and there is definitely something we're getting wrong, because we are all aware that engineering has not lived up to its potential in Nigeria. We can see the way the entertainment industry has skyrocketed. All of them, they are entrepreneurs like us. They are all making money. And we can see the way there is gradually a boom in ICT sector currently. And also many engineers are driving ICT as well. So, but engineering profession, and like many other professions in Nigeria, have not really been able to get it right and get our acts together. So, and looking at that, we'll see what Bertrand Russell said, that the problem, one of the problems that we have is that fools and fanatics are always certain of themselves, and wise people are so full of doubt. I wouldn't use the word fanatics and fool, that might be too extreme, but that is his fault. So if we consider other people in other sectors as fanatics in their own area, and we are different in engineering, then you will understand that there is an issue of doubt among engineers, and that's why engineers have not lived up to our potentials in driving and leading Nigerian economy. Okay, that challenge being said, let us look at engineering practice in other developed clans. How do they practice engineering? And you have, for instance, engineering, the practice of engineering started as early as 1802, and the degree awarding started in 1835 in US, to be specific. So, and initially when it started, I told you that it was all about infrastructure, roads and housing. That was what it was. That was why we have civil engineering as a mother of the engineering profession. So because you have the military engineering, now that engineering has moved into human problem solving, it was now named civil engineering, and from there are many more subdivisions of engineering profession. So who is really an engineer? He's one that discovers, invents, innovates, and apply things. You know, we build things that never existed before and we come into existence. Then in developed plan in Western world, when an engineer discover, invent, and does things, they match them up with venture capitalists. They match them up with access to funds to be able to pursue their research, to be able to pursue their innovation and inventions. These are things we don't have in Nigeria here at the moment, because if you want to take a loan, some of the banks will kill you with interest and the rest of it. And many people don't have interest in investing in other people's business. But then what do they do in Europe and Canada and the UK? They have since remodeled the operation and the practice of engineering. Yes, technical skills is important. The specialization it is your discipline as an engineer. But before you can now understand how to successfully apply those technical skills in very needed area and in very needed circumstances, you have to be an entrepreneur. So they have designed entrepreneurship and embedded it successfully in the practice of engineering. You don't just design, but you ask, how will this design impact successfully on the people that will use this product that I'm designing? So that is what they did. They seek product to the market and commercialize it and use the invention and techniques of the techniques and the skills of that they have acquired through engineering and made it up. Now the entrepreneurship helps them to discover, to understand the market response, the human needs of whatever it is that is going to be designed, produced. So they are not just producing out of imagination, out of theory. They are producing out of real, actual market feedback, industrial feedback that it drives the production in Western world. So, so engineers bring the skills and processes of problem solving, of analysis, of critical thinking, of design orientation to formulate all these feedback from the market in order to get a product that will suit the market. If they want to design this bottled water, they are not just going to design a container that will hold water and make it convenient for you to drink it when you want to drink it. They are going to consider the size of this bottled water, the end users of this bottled water. This bottled water, the people that will drink it will need it to be handy, small and handy. So all these things will be captured in the design. The market response, the feasibility studies that will be done will have to address how this bottled water will be produced. So this is an instance of how European and Western countries are designed and formulate their engineering inventions. So engineering in the West and entrepreneurship are two parallel lines. They are together. You cannot separate them. Engineering, we engineers in Nigeria see engineering and entrepreneurship as business. It's for business. They are business people. They don't have the technicalities, the skills, the competencies, the design capacities. So therefore, they are business. They are minor. But you forget that the business is informing the design of the product. So you need to understand the business in order to properly produce as an engineer. So it's a parallel line that cannot be taken apart from each other. Let's make progress. So the technical skills that we learn in school during our days, during our days in school, the divide, the S that we've learned, the strength of materials, all the things, the theory of materials and all the rest of them that we learn, they are useful, but they should not be in front in practice of engineering. They should be behind. The market determines the products. So the market will determine how you use those technical skills now to design and produce a well-informed and well-rounded product. You now worry why government produces a footbridge in a traffic area and the pedestrians don't use the footbridge, they still walk. It's because there is no proper feasibility study. The people who the end users of those bridges are not consulted. Their desire, their needs are not incorporated in the design. So government feel like, okay, to bridge traffic, for safety, we need to introduce a footbridge here, pedestrian footbridge. We design that footbridge and install it without proper feasibility study, without proper consultation from the end users, from the industry, from those abokis and those petty traders that carry those things and run across the road. So at the end of the day, we produce pedestrian bridge that just stand there, they are useless. Nobody is using them for the purpose for which they are designed. And that project automatically fails, because when a project is not being utilized to at least over 70%, that project is a failure. So that is why we need to capture entrepreneurial skills so that we can go back to the industry and modify our designs, our knowledge, our product, our invention, and go back, take information from the market and impute to upgrade and update our design. The people that do ICT today, the apps that we use every day, almost on quarterly basis, they ask you to upgrade because they have gone back, many of them have reviews. They have gone back to the industry and find out how those apps are responding to people, and they now updated those things to integrate in the app, added those features for an upgrade. So you cannot take away the practice of engineering from entrepreneurship. Every engineer is an entrepreneur, but not every entrepreneur is an engineer. We will talk about that as we make some progress. And the reason why engineers make better entrepreneurs. So let's look at entrepreneurship on this one. We've talked about engineering, how it is being practiced in Nigeria, the areas you can go into, and how it is being practiced, the difference with what we do in the West. And then let's look at entrepreneurship. What is actually who is an entrepreneur? Normally, in my normal class, I will ask us so that we can say and participate. But who is an entrepreneur? So think about it for 1 second. An entrepreneur has an internal intention called entrepreneurial intention. Generally, it's all about ideas. But if I want to drink water, it's just an idea. But if I start planning, designing, how do I access water? How do I access this bottled water? And when I access it, how do I open it? From the plans that I start making from the moment I start thinking about that water and to the time that I've drank that water and it has nourished me, that's the whole complete plan, the whole complete process is an intention. So an intention is not just what you think about, what you imagine, and what you want to do. No, it encompasses the plan, the program, the how, the capacity, the competencies, the skills that you will need. These are what makes an entrepreneurial intention. So an entrepreneurial intention is about the individual motivation. It's a reflection of individual motivation gotten through, and that individual motivation is an attitude that you have to carry inside you. So when you talk about motivation, entrepreneurial motivation has to be there, and it has to be there as an attitude that you carry. We all know what attitude is. It's your personality, it's something that is in you. We can say, oh, that girl has attitude. We are defining the girl's character. Or that man has attitude. We are defining the man's character. Entrepreneurship is about character. It's about your personality. It's about your behavior. It's the total sum of who you are. So you cannot go too far away looking for an idea to do this. That thing that you want, you worry about, maybe whenever they are giving news, they are broadcasting news, whenever you're going on the road, you see things and you worry about them. You say, no, the way people are throwing refuse about in this city, it worries me. You come back telling your wife, you're telling your son, you're telling your best friend that the way people discard refugees worry you. That is part of it. That is how it forms. It has to come in from the inside. You have to boil out. You have to express it. You start talking about it, you start researching about it, you start looking into waste disposal, waste management, the best system to manage waste and all that. You start Googling about it. You start noticing that you Google about and read about things that has to do with waste management than any other thing. It starts forming in. It becomes an intention. For it now to become an entrepreneurial intention, you have to start making plans, putting plans to paper, start studying, start capturing end-to-end of that sewage management. So that is what entrepreneurship is all about. You cannot be an entrepreneur without having an entrepreneurial intention. And you cannot have an entrepreneurial intention without having entrepreneurial motivation. Sewage management may motivate you. And you cannot have about that motivation, that individual motivation, without having the attitude in you, the fire burn in you to change something, to do something about something, to fill in the gap, to address the gap that you've noticed in the society in one way or the other. So that is what makes you an entrepreneur. It's something that is inside you. So, and you can see that there is a correlation between what entrepreneurs do and what engineers do. They all have passion, desire to solve problems. They are the two sets of professions that align so well and so much because they are interested in addressing a problem. The difference now is that the entrepreneur is only focusing on what the market wants. The engineer wants to solve every problem solvable. So, and we'll look at the skills and competencies that you need to be a successful entrepreneur. You have innovation, creativity, motivation, understanding risk and weaknesses, initiative and leadership, time planning, cognitive processing. Cognitive processing is your ability to be open to ideas, process those ideas, talk about it, refine it, have the mental development processing of those your ideas, which is also part of what you need. Several times people have said, oh, don't give out your business plans because someone else will steal it. But I tell my class members that if you cannot talk about your ideas, if you cannot talk about it, if you don't have the fire to talk about your ideas, then It is not entrepreneurial intention. It is not, and you should be free to talk about it. Don't worry about anybody stealing it. I will tell you how nobody can steal your ideas because they are not you. You are different, you are unique, you are personal. It's an attitude. It's not about the idea. Anybody can grab an idea. Google ideas on Google. You will see more than thousands of ideas. But who has the capacity, the self-efficacy to drive an idea? That's what makes you different from every other person. So, yes, talking about self-efficacy is your ability, the skills, the competencies that you have, the experiences that you have that informs you as a person. Excuse me. That informs you as a human being to pursue an agenda. In this case, your entrepreneurial engineering and your entrepreneurial intention. So self-efficacy has been found to be the greatest influence on entrepreneurial behavior. No entrepreneur has capacity without self-efficacy, without the internal capacity and skills to drive their intentions. So, and studies have proven that entrepreneurial intention is the primary predictor of a future entrepreneur. So for you to be predicted as an entrepreneur, like I said, you have to have entrepreneurial intention. And like I said, it's not just an intention like the way the word intention sounds. It's the end-to-end plan, end-to-end understanding of what you want to do, that you are fired up so much that your wife is tired of listening to your ideas. Your children are tired of listening to your ideas. Your best friends are tired of listening to it because you keep on talking about it. You keep on looking for ways to make it better, to redefine it. So you have a plan. Anybody calls you, even right now you are in this class, and say, tell us about your entrepreneurial intention, your business plan. You start firing up because it's what you drink like water. It's what you worry about. It's what you think about all the time. So you cannot be an entrepreneur without having a solid entrepreneurial intention. And like I said, entrepreneurial intention, I've defined that in the previous slide, is your state of mind, is the end-to-end of who you are and what you want to achieve. So yes, we talked about entrepreneurial practice and engineering practice in the Western world. And we have a model of their operation, which is what we want to achieve. Currently, the Council for Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria has applied and are processing what we call outcome-based education modeling. So we are going to sign that accord sometime either this year or next year and become members of outcome-based education. And what that means is that engineering, the way we know it in Nigeria, will change. We will now look at products and services to define what we are going to teach in the class. So it's not about the S, the Y anymore, or formulas anymore. We're going to look at how those formulas in practical sense in the industry impact life. And we're going to start teaching that in schools, in classrooms. So a lot of other countries have left us. We have about 78 developed countries who are now signatory to outcome-based accord. So that is the educational model that is emphasizing on outcome, industrial-driven education, not classroom-driven education, practical application of knowledge. So, and this is what the West are applying. They first and foremost look at the market. What does the market want? Is it, if you want to do car washing in business, what is the latest in car washing? If you want to produce solar panel, or solar energy, or you have a solar energy company, what is the latest in that industry? You cannot go and copy what the competition is doing and start repeating it. You are not an entrepreneur. For you to be an entrepreneur, you have to do your feasibility study, you have to do your research, understand what the bigger players are doing in that industry, and also understand what the market wants, the people, the end users want. Where do they want that bridge? And why? What, why, when, and how? You have to understand that from the market, that desire. Then, as an entrepreneur, then you come in as an engineer, and you now look at those things that you've achieved from the market, those informations that you've gathered. How do you modify your theories? How do you invent them? How do you apply them? How do you innovate? How do you stand out as a new player? How do you draw attention as a new player, as the latest entrepreneurial engineer in town? So when you have taken that your idea in that your sector, and you have researched them, discover and invent and innovate your model, then you come back again to the industry and test run those your theories. That's why I said, do not worry about people stealing your ideas. The slide that we talked about, self-efficacy, means that nobody can successfully steal ideas and apply them if it is not theirs. Trust me, nobody can. They will mess it up even if they have the financial capacity. They will mess the idea up. So nobody can be you. It is only you. And remember, as an entrepreneur, it's something that is embedded in your system. So you bring it back to the industry and test run those your theory, those your designs, to find out how the industry will respond to them, how the market will respond to them. The people that wants to use this fruit bridge, are they going to accept it if we build it here, and why and how? So you take it back to the market. So you can see that you are now an engineer and you are now an entrepreneur. So the skills that you need are the best skills now that these both people here need. And once you can address this area very well, you automatically have an enterprise. You have an enterprise. And trust me when I say that if you address this one successfully, don't worry about money. Money will come here. The industry will blow away. Nobody have achieved anything successfully that focus in this area that has never made it here. Nobody. All the new companies, the top 10 or top 20 Fortune companies in the world that you see, all of them are here. They are either engineers or entrepreneurs. So you have an advantage. You have an advantage. You are both. You are studying to be both. So once you can address it here, whether it is sewage that you want to be collecting from people's house and you want to design an app to collect it, whether it is blogging that you want to blog and talk about engineering practice, no matter whatever it is that your agenda, your intention is, once you can address here and here successfully, you will be here. Because at this stage, investors will come. So that is how entrepreneurship is being pursued in the West. And what are they doing? There is constant learning. They learn and learn. I am not an engineer. I am not an engineer that knows it all. That's why my class is very interactive, because the wealth of experiences, there is a lot. In my class, everybody have fun. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has reduced us to virtual classroom. People have fun because we talk. People tell about their jobs, what they are going through, about their entrepreneurial intentions, and we look at it, and the whole class hears it, and people have fun listening to it. So, because in the process, we are all learning. It's all about learning. An entrepreneur learns every day. An engineer learns every day. Any engineer that tells you that I'm an engineer, I'm a professor, I'm an engineer, I know it all, is lying. An engineer knows every day, because an engineer is constantly innovating, constantly inventing, constantly modifying, and constantly discovering things. That is who an engineer is. And an entrepreneur is constantly learning, because an entrepreneur is constantly desire to satisfy the market, to know what people want, and to address it. So we will learn. You learn from your colleagues. You learn even in church. I have people in my class that the best way to learn about being an entrepreneur in Nigeria, just like I'm showing you about models in Western world, the best model to learn in Nigeria is Nigerian pastors. So you learn their persuasiveness, you learn their perseverance, you learn their intention, you learn their commitment. Even if they are hungry, they are focused, they believe, they will tell you God says, they are pursuing the agenda vigorously. They are binding and canceling. So that is the best model to become an engineer. It has to be fireborn in you. You have to be learning every day. You train yourself, you retrain yourself, and you continue to train yourself. You look for resources to read. So especially in the area that you're interested in. I've talked about sharing knowledge. You talk about your ideas. You talk about your ideas and share knowledge in those areas and get to develop yourself more. So remember that your college degree as an engineer, your B Engine as an engineer, or your MSc or M Engine as an engineer is not an arrival. Your PhD is not an arrival. It is a certificate to start learning. We were told in PhD that when you finish your PhD, that is when learning starts. Because as an expert in that area, you will continue constantly to know the industry trend. You constantly try to understand why this A is like A and B is like B, and the gap between A and B. So you are always learning. It's a permit to go and learn. PhD is a permit to go and learn more. So you, as an entrepreneur, you are going to continue to learn, because that is what entrepreneurship is all about. You know, that is what entrepreneurship is all about. So, like we've talked about, it's about creativity, it's about practical actions, it's about perception, it's about, this is what Fatih said in his research. So, it's not just about you having an idea. Like I said, there are pools of ideas everywhere. Many ideas are buried in graveyard. So, but it's about you having the persuasion, the self-efficacy to drive those ideas and to have them into fruition. So that is what engineering is all about. So yes, all engineers are entrepreneurs. All engineers are entrepreneurs, because if you look at what makes an entrepreneur and you look at what makes an engineer, you will see that we are always solving problems. Our theories, our formulas are how to make water better. Our formula, our researches are how to make structures better, safer, and more economic to construct. So we are always looking for new ways to do things for our economy, for our people. We are, outside God, we are the problem solvers. So while you have your helmet put in your head, always get your business cap on top of it. Because every idea you are going to work on, you have to look at the profitability of that idea. If you are going to discover a new way of doing raft foundation and call it maybe Omoke's theory, you have to put cap of a businessman that at the end of the day, how will this theory bring returns on investment? Otherwise, nobody will listen to you. That theory will live and die in the classroom. So, and maybe another man that has the cap will go and borrow it and practice it and use it and make money and start selling it. So that is what it's all about. Let me tell you something about some successful Western entrepreneurs. We have many of them as well in Nigeria that are also engineers. Let me tell you about them. Stephen Red, he founded Industrial Environmental System company in Georgia, and what he does is to use metals to produce. His company is driving the use of steel construction. So he said that what he said in school, that when he was in engineering, that he also was doing some work in cooperative education. And that was what informed his decision about engineering. He realized that he does not want to be a one-dimensional engineer. What is a one-dimensional engineer? An engineer that only knows how to do formula, that knows how to do design, but does not understand how those designs impact to the end owner, end users. That's a one-dimensional engineer. So what are we teaching you in entrepreneurial engineering is to be a two-dimensional engineer. That is the cap. So because we already, by the virtue of our certificates in engineering and our registration with Current, we are engineers. So, and that is one-dimensional engineer. But the cap on our head gives us the second dimension, that is the business dimension, the commercial dimension of engineering. So, and that is what Stephen said. And by the way, he won award, plenty of awards with his company because of those his discoveries and the technologies that he has found. So I have a list of why engineers make greater entrepreneurs. We are better. We are the best entrepreneurs. Many top 20 or top 30 Fortune companies are founded or co-founded by engineers. Yes, and many of them are successful. And I have seen business leaders in where I'm doing presentation tell me that they prefer engineers to be their managers, their general managers, their project managers. And I ask them why. Some of them tell me, like one group chairman of a firm, he told me that, look, I won't mention his name, that look, that in his experience with hiring people, that is only an engineer that will stick back when the house is on fire and find a way to fix it. There is only an engineer that will not leave until the problem is solved. There is only an engineer that does that. They have patience. There is an engineer that is not motivated too much by money. You can pay them little and they will still be there because they're excited about helping the organization grow. So we have problem solving embedded in us. And some of these chairmen are business people. So we are not appreciated the way we are supposed to be appreciated. But behind closed door, like when we are making presentations for them, they tell you that engineers are there. They have realized that in all the professions that they have hired people, that engineers are the most loyal, most committed, and very detailed and very thorough. So they tell you. So, and that is still the same leadership skills that engineers have that make them better entrepreneurs. So we solve problems with precision. We are optimistic. We are predictable. You see, the businessmen say we are predictable because they know we are not motivated by money. We're not going to run away. That we love the challenge of the profession. So, and we want to see things better. They trust us because of these skills. They know that we're not going away, that we don't negotiate like the lawyers, like the MBA people, that once we are better, our family is better, that we are fine. So we are not motivated by too much external things and material things. So engineers have humility, they have yearning for more knowledge. That's true. An engineer always wants to look for ways to improve and make things better. So I will give you the list of some. Yes, Bill Gates is a software engineer, even though they call him a software architect. He has worked as an engineer before founding Microsoft. And Oracle, all of them, these are the names of big people that are engineers and founders of Fortune organizations. Many of them top leaders of organizations, top organizations are either founded by engineers or co-founded by engineers. This man is very interesting, Steve Zugnick. He's a very interesting man. He's the co-founder of Apple. Many of us don't know. You know, that's what we talked about, that engineers are humble. They don't want to be mentioned. So, but he's a very wealthy man, but he's the co-founder of, so you can Google all of them later and read. We know the popular ones. We know this. Tesla is the biggest energy car now in innovation. It's Tesla. They are doing amazing things. You go to their page, you watch what they are doing. They're a new company, a young car manufacturing company, beating Ford and Chevrolet on innovation and electric car. So these are engineers. Innovation is all about our system, is in our DNA, because we are constantly looking for ways to improve. So, but these are engineers that have made mark in their own way and have taken the bull by the horn without doubt, irrespective of the uncertainties of their ventures. So what are we going to do? What can we do now that we're here? We are going to develop, first and foremost, entrepreneurial intention. For you to be in this class means that it's part of what you want, either for yourself or to teach someone else. It's part of the knowledge that you want to achieve. So you're going to discover your own entrepreneurial intention. What is it that worries you, that you want to change? What can we do better? What do you think that should be improved? Then you're going to do that. Then you're going to look for support and promote innovative ideas. In Nigeria, in our own engineering practice in Nigeria, these are what we're going to do. We're going to learn how to share knowledge. You know, entrepreneurs are knowledge sharers. They don't care about you stealing the ideas. I can tell you several things that I'm doing. Nobody is doing blogging and writing things about engineering and engineering passion in Nigeria, especially in area of management and the skills that we need to develop. So I started it, and a lot of people can do it. There are several things, especially for a country like Nigeria that is has a lot of problems and challenges. Several things we can do. So talk about them, share them up. Nobody can do it better than you, because the knowledge you have, the experience you have is internal. So we seek funds. We know that funding is a problem. The global entrepreneurship monitoring said that a startup is a problem for entrepreneur, and Nigerian case is outstanding. But the good thing is that many of us are not startup in the sense. So we have maybe a primary job that we're doing, and then we want to do start up something. So you can, and the GE, that the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, says that the best form of income for engineers, for entrepreneurs, is self-funding. So the little that you have, save it. Every drop of water counts. The only thing it can do is that it can elongate the time that you will get to your goal, but every dollar, every naira that you invest in it, either for printing or for buying software or for buying materials to read, is important, or preparing for presentation, or even going for presentations. I go for presentations for business plans that I know are going to fail. I go, like, if I have a pre-information that a business is going to fail, I still go for the presentation. Do you know why? Because the process of making that presentation helps me modify, refine my knowledge, because I cannot finish that presentation without having an interaction with one or two people, and also understanding their own knowledge and own ideas. So you will leave a better person. So every knowledge you get, every resources you get, put it, don't worry whether you're getting returns, but put it right in there. We're going to be looking at some of those skills in our upcoming classes. So, excuse me. So we must become a technopreneur. The world we're living in is all about technology now. So I'll give you one advice I have not given to most members of my previous classes. Whatever you are doing today, find a way to ensure that technology and ICT is part of it. Whether you want to collect sewage, whether you want to wash car, whether you find a way, because the world we're living in now is moving very fast and is moving towards technology. So, that's the understanding of the reality of what is happening currently. So you understand technology, understand computer, understand sharp thinking, understand that as an engineer, you have to think outside the box. Don't be too proud of yourself, ask questions. No matter who the person is, get a mentor, get someone you can talk to. Always talk to your colleagues, even in class, share ideas with people so that you can be able to effectively solve problems. So I will also tell you here, stop being an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur are people who don't want to take risks. Many engineers are very knowledgeable in discovery. That's why business owners love us, because we are innovative, we are discoverers, we are inventors, we are critical analysts, we are problem solvers. They love us for that. They don't want to let you go. And because of the risk of starting on your own, you are worried about taking those risks. Entrepreneurs take takers. We take risks. That's what we do. And the good thing is that you can take a calculated risk anyways. You can still be in your work and still start your firm. So I'm be doing them. I'm a lecturer at UNN. I do my private practice consultancy for people in Abuja, for real estate developers. I at its business. So you can do more, you can multitask. You can multitask, yes. So stop being an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is someone who does not want to take risk, who is scared to take risk. Therefore, they have good ideas, but they want to run it by the company. There is nothing wrong with running things by the company, because that's how you get paid. That's why you are hired. But also embodying yourself to start small and take some calculated risk. That is the difference between an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur. So the E and the I, that's the difference. So we are always about thermodynamics in engineering, and we have to start playing that law in practical sense. So for you to do something, you have to exact energy. So it's not only in science, it's also applicable in social sciences. You have to exert energy, you have to move, you have to start up something. You have to start up something that is sustainable. You have to pursue that your dream. So we have to use some of the principles of physics, some of the principles of chemistry in real social life, and build some sustainable businesses for ourselves. In continuation of what we can do, I will show you what an old adage that engineers always carry on their head. If we build it, people will come. You know, we that are into building in the industry, we go about building without calculating what the client wants. And we end up arguing all the time with our clients. without listening to our clients, because we believe that we are the professionals in that area. Let me tell you something, as a professional now, if you're not listening very well and understanding what your client, who is the market wants, you are wrong. You are not a good engineer. You're supposed to listen. So that is one of the things that is here, and that is part of the problem that I told you about pedestrian. The government and contractors don't listen to the road users. They have to listen to them, because if you build it and they don't use it, it's useless. It's a waste of resources, and you failed as a project manager, as an engineer. So you don't say, I'll build them, people will use them. No. Find out what they want, manage your competition, connect with your customers, analyze what they want, integrate it in your design, so that you can give them a product that you, then, government, the entire human race will be proud and happy about. We are all using Uber today. We are all using Google today. People thought about these things holistically and built them. And they are constantly innovating them every day. They are not saying, I am Google, I am too big to listen. If you give Google feedback, they take it. If it makes sense to them, they analyze it and they upgrade and update their software. So we should learn to do that. We should be humble, because we are engineers. Engineers are humble to learn. So, and then, so I will tell you what Martin Zuli said in his publication on Forbes in 2016. He said that it is very easy. It is very possible. It is very smooth. It's the smooth. In fact, for me, I would even rather want to counter him, because I don't want you guys to transit from engineering to entrepreneur. You are already an entrepreneur by virtue of your profession. You pursue what an entrepreneur pursues. You desire what an entrepreneur desires, which is change, which is innovation, which is new products for the market, better ways of it, improved standard of life, ease of doing business. That is what engineers want. So we are not changing. We are not migrating from engineering to entrepreneurship, because we are already entrepreneurs. All we need to do is to discover those capacities, those skills and potentials that are embedded in the principles of engineering and apply them successfully. So we are constantly faced with problems. This is what Joachim Horn said on Entrepreneur. You should Google Entrepreneur and read their post. It's a blog post. So he's a contributor on Entrepreneur. So he said that keeping an open mind to constant learning will allow growth needed to adapt and continuously take on new challenges with energy. So we have the energy, we have the problem-solving skills, which is challenge. So what we need to do is to keep an open mind. Engineers don't really always keep open minds. We argue too much among ourselves. We want to prove that we are superior engineer, that we are experienced, that the younger one does not have experience. Therefore, you don't listen to them. That the older ones are too old and outdated. Therefore, the younger ones don't know. In fact, this is one of the presentations I made for Koren, that engineers are one of the people who die with their experiences in the economy. Many other professions like medicine transfer knowledges to the younger ones. They groom younger ones like mentorship. There is an article that I'm publishing that has to do with knowledge transfer in engineering. Mentorship is important. Older engineers with their wealth, deep wealth of experience, 30 years of engineering, has to groom the new ones. Tell them, you're not grooming them for them to do exactly what you've done, but you groom them so that they don't have to make the same mistakes that have been made, so that they will understand the pattern, the system, the design, the model, the processes of doing things. And the younger engineers need to understand that you have to learn from the older engineers in order to avoid mistakes. In order to learn, because if you're tapping the knowledge from a 30-year-old experience, you're tapping a 30-year-old experience. You don't need to wait for 30 years to understand. You already have it. So these are things that we can start doing in the engineering profession. Continue to share knowledge, continue to be open to learning, continue to change, and continue to innovate so that we can build successful innovations, successful products, and successful intervention and development for our dear economy. It is not possible, but it is possible. We can do it, and we can change the engineering profession in Nigeria when we are alive and invent things that are very, very impactful and meaningful to our people. The responsibility is on us. The responsibility is on us. Don't behave like doctors. Don't behave like lawyers. We, as engineers, the Prince Philip said that we are second God. What it means is that whatever that was not created by God was invented by engineers. So we have a responsibility on our shoulder to ensure that our society, our economy work better. So the tools that and the appliances that every other industry and every other sector uses is on our shoulder to produce them, to make life more meaningful and worthwhile for our fellow human beings. So I want to thank you for listening, and now we can take I can take your questions on the presentation. So, and when we're into our next classes, we'll start identifying those core skills and competencies that you will need to become a successful entrepreneurial engineer in your career. So I want to take your questions as they come. So one after the other. So you raise your hand up and I invite you to ask questions if you have questions. I'm trying to stop sharing so that I can enlarge my screen. Okay, yes. So we can now go ahead and ask our questions. If you don't want to talk, you can write me now and ask me your questions. Okay, any questions? Go ahead. Unmute yourself if you want to ask questions.
Okay. Yeah, engineer, this is Ifani speaking. I don't know if you're hearing me.
Ifani, I'm trying to see your face. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I can see you now.
Please, okay, yes. Please, a quick one.
Yes.
I don't know where the fault is. As an engineer, we always troubleshoot, we look for the fault. So this time, I don't know where this fault is coming from. That fault is whether it's in the attitude or in the character that is in the attitude of the engineer that makes engineers not to aspire or not to, work their way into that partisan kind of politics that makes them to be appointed as ministers. Ministers in the very, very core areas, critical areas that will actually drive this improvement or development in our economy. You mentioned several times, improving our economy, developing our economy. So I don't know. The Korean, the NAC, we have the laws and the acts that establish them. Can't engineers go to court and challenge the appointment of some positions like ministers for work, minister for transport, and all that? So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your question. I've also made that argument in some of my platforms and opportunities that I have. It's very wrong. I understand that administratively, engineering ministries, some ministerial appointments are administrative appointments. That's correct. So anybody actually, by virtue of that, can be there. So, but there are things that you need as a technocrat that you will understand. Like for instance, now we are talking about business. We are not business people. We are technical people, but we are learning course in business. So there is a blend of it, and we understand from this course that our engineering background will fortify us more to be better entrepreneurs, better businessmen. So because when you are receiving now an information, you as an engineer can be able to interpret that information properly, analyze it properly, understand the gap, and then recommend. So based on that argument, I would always say that it is wrong, my personal position, for non-professional engineers to head engineering-related agencies. It is completely wrong, because in as much as you can have technical people, technical engineers at the managerial, divisional levels of those organizations, it takes leadership at the end of the day. And leadership is at the top, the man who the boss stops at his desk to comprehend those technical recommendations, and also to think outside the box, and to also to understand the implications of some of their issues. Now, like for instance, now I'll give you an instance, but I don't know whether I'm permitted to say this. If there are challenges within Koren Council, for instance, it is the responsibility of the Ministry of Works. He is the chairman that has the powers to represent the president to deal on Koren matters. That's what the Koren Act says. Now, how can a minister who is a lawyer sit on the board or on matters that have to do with practices of engineering in Nigeria? So your line of thought is correct. I will also address the second phase of your question. I agree with you. I share that sentiment, but it is what it is. It's only a sentiment for us. Now, in order to address it, it's a fault. It's a big fault that has been overlooked for a long time. And what can we do? How can we start addressing it? One, we have to start as engineers is where this course comes in now, where we have to start building some independent engineering development, independent engineering practices. And we can also, as engineers, not run away from the profession itself and be part of Koren. Koren is actually open, but most engineers don't come to Koren. Most engineers don't come to NSC. Most engineers don't participate in activities. There are laid down laws and order in Koren where we can make submissions and pursue them. It's difficult, but we can. Currently, Koren has, last year, President Buhari signed the new Koren Act into law. And that act has given engineers and Koren a lot of powers to practice engineering in Nigeria. So we can explore that act and push forward. Now, like I said, all these things, like the other phase of your question that asks whether is it an attitude, is it character? Yes, it's an attitude. Engineers have been raised in Nigeria to be meek and humble. It's okay. It's a good thing because it's one of the qualities that we need to survive and to succeed. But what engineers have not been taught properly is how to challenge status quo, how to rise up and demand change, how to speak, how to take risks. And that is where a course like this comes in, because this course is going to teach you about risk-taking, about speaking up, about calling for change, about changing this, the order of things. So this course is all about your attitude. Remember I told you that entrepreneurship is an attitude, is a leadership attitude that boils in you. So this course will enable people, many of us, to see engineering profession as from a different perspective, and also to come into conferences, seminars, assemblies, conferences, and challenge the status quo, you know, and see how we unitedly can reform the attitude of engineering practice in Nigeria. So yeah, it's a long way to go, but gradually, if we can come together and fight the cause, A time will come when engineers will rise up and tell the president of the country that this is wrong, that empirical research, scientific research can prove that it is better that you have leaders in engineering, and it's better to use them on engineering and technical ministries, because that way they understand what the industry that they are coming to govern requires and needs. So I hope I've been able to address some points you raised in your question. Any other question?
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead.
I have a question.
Please go ahead. Yes, please.
Can I go ahead?
Please, if you want to ask a question, can you do me a favor, since we cannot interact properly? Tell me your name, what you're doing for living, either if you're working in an organization, your role, and then you ask me what you want to ask me, okay? So I want to know a little bit about every one of us.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Please, Nasiru.
Okay, sir.
Sorry, Nasiru.
Just briefly.
Who is talking?
Sir?
Who is talking? Please let Nasiru to talk. Yeah, after Nasiru, then Livinus, Livinus can now talk. Please, Nasiru, go ahead.
Sir, I'm Nasiru Onyia. I say I'm Nasiru Onyia, working with Minister Specialist Hospital as Deputy Director, Maintenance.
Okay.
My problem is I want to ask a question.
Okay, go
ahead.
Like
all research and development that the students are doing in some countries, this research are being developed. Sometimes it will be developed and it will be upgraded to the level of this entrepreneurship or enterprising the products. But in our country, it's not practicable. I don't know what is happening with our Korean and other NSC, all these professional bodies that are not putting effort to see this thing is come off so that we can develop our countries in this way. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Nasiru, and thank you for your question. Korean is currently doing a lot. I have the privilege of associating with some of the leadership currently. So they are doing a lot. The new leadership of Korean is doing a lot. The previous leadership President Ali laid the foundation. He was the one that got the new Korean Act, because Korean was actually caged like a baby by the previous act. But now Korean has been emboldened by the new act that President Muhammadu Buhari has signed. So, and that act embodies and empowers Korean pursue and enforce policies and principles of engineering practice. What this means is that they can prosecute quacks, they can do it, that if you're not constantly, in Korean Act, for you to call yourself an engineering professional, there are two provisions. You have to be registered by Korean. The second one is that you have to demonstrate continuous professional development. I did a research in that area. Many of us ignore that part. So Korean Act says that if you are not registered and if you are not continuously developing yourself as an engineer, you are a quack. You are a quack. So this knowledge that we are in today is part of continuous development. As an engineer, you are constantly going to be learning. And secondly, one of the things that Korean has started doing now, like I told you, is that they have what is called Washington Accord. Korean has applied. The process was started by the previous Korean administration, but these current ones have taken it to another level. So they are pushing and pursuing that Washington Accord. What is Washington Accord? It's called outcome-based education. That's OBE. OBE is all about practical engineering things. It's no longer about the theories, the formulas, the experiment alone. We are looking at these experiments that we're doing. How do they impact? How can we educate an engineering technician to build a furniture? Practical things that we're doing. How can we conduct tests on our own and get the strength of the material? How can we test water resistivity? How can we do a lot of things? The practical process of learning all those things are what outcome-based education is. Now, Korean is going to change Korean syllabus in every school. It's a big fundamental change coming to engineering practice. Korean has gotten the act signed by the president. Korean has signed, is applying to become a member of outcome-based education system, which is what these developed countries are using. And that is why an engineering graduate in Nigeria is different from an engineering graduate in the US. An engineering graduate in the US has known practical things. I'll give you a testimony. In my years of development in Federal University of Technology, Owerri, I was never introduced to practical civil engineering application, either through test of strength of materials, test of anything, practical construction, design, and application. These are what our children, our colleagues, our sons and daughters are still going through now. Now we are still doing engine drawing in photo, engine drawing, carbon paper, with pen and pencil, while nobody anywhere in the world is using that anymore to do design. We are doing with STAAD, we are doing with EDFA, we are doing with softwares. You see, we are way behind. These are education of 1950s, 1970s, 1980s. So engineering has left those areas, and engineering has advanced. So Korean is doing a lot, and we believe that change will come gradually, but we have to unify with Korean and identify with. And also, as entrepreneurial engineer, enforce our agenda on Korean leadership and Nigerian Society of Engineers, their leadership to get the change that we desire. So the next question, who is supposed to ask again?
Francis.
Okay, Mamere. After Mamere, Itang, you get ready. Then after Itang, Francis. Yeah, I'll follow an order, please. Mamere, go ahead, tell us who you are, then ask your question. Then after you, Itang will ask, then Francis. Mamere, unmute yourself. Hello, Mamere, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I hear.
Okay. Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
So I take another person.
Okay, Ethan. Oh, hello, okay, Mamere is now here. Okay, can you hear me now, Mamere?
Hear you.
Okay, go ahead. Tell us about it quickly and ask your question.
Yes, what I want to ask is that I've known that the study of engineering is the best wise investment in Nigeria and in the whole world. Why is it that we don't have engineer general as we have audit and accountant general of the federation?
Yes, okay, thank you for that question.
Sorry, sir, please, before you answer.
Yes, go ahead.
The ESU school rep said that you should let him in, please, and some other people are waiting. The ESU school rep.
No, there's no need for them to be in. The class is over. Please,
the school rep that takes attendance. The school rep that takes attendance. not a student.
It's necessary. It's
He
important.
just called me now.
Okay, I've done that. I've let every other person.
And the students too, some of them had network issues. That's why it's not as if they are not part of the class. They had network issues. So these are some of the things we have to consider as well.
It's okay, I've heard you. Thank you. I've heard you. I've let as much as I can in. Okay, please, Mary, now I've forgotten what his question was.
My question.
Yes, what's your question?
I said my
you were supposed to introduce yourself, your name, and where you work.
Okay.
Mary, please introduce yourself and then tell us where you work and what your role is there is, like your job title, and then tell us, ask your question, okay?
Okay, I'm an engineer. I'm living in Swaha. I work with the electricity distribution company of Nigeria, Enugu.
Okay.
Operations and maintenance in the EDC Southeast Zone. So my question is, why I want to know why engineering is relegated in Nigeria, because from what we are discussing here now, the study of engineering is the best wise investment. So why is it that we have accountant general, auditor general, we have any other thing general, but we don't have engineer general in Nigeria. After the war, engineering plays a lot of role in everywhere. World War, Nigerian Civil War, reconstruction of the Niger Bridge. But engineering has always been relegated. In the area where I work, if you see where accountants are having a workshop, the aroma there, we stir you up. But when engineers are having anything like a workshop, no water, no food, nothing. Engineering is still relegated to the grassroots in this country. And I'm always weeping. And most of the time I regret why studying engineering. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Please don't regret studying engineering. With this course, even though that most of your energetic years have gone down a little bit, but I'm sure that you will learn something to impact someone. You can start something that someone else will inherit tomorrow. So don't regret studying engineering. Now, let me address your question, Mamel. The fundamental problem, like I said when I was responding to Mr. Ifeanyi, is a fundamental problem. And Mr. Nasiru, we were taught that, like I was in school. When I was in school, I was taught that when you graduate, you start looking for work in oil company, you know, as a civil engineer. So nobody told me that as a civil engineer, that I can actually come out, then do my internship somewhere, learn about construction properly, and then start practicing, maybe under the supervision of a other senior engineer that will become my mentor and my role model. Nobody taught me that. And that is what they do abroad. I can open my own firm, call it Onyia Construction, then partner with a senior colleague, a more mature senior colleague who has more experience in the sector. When he has a job, he sends me out. See, there must be internship. We don't do internship in Nigeria, but we have IT. We have youth service. Those things are not productive. Students don't go. I was one of the supervisors in UNN to inspect students on IT. I learned a lot there. And I said I was going to write an article or an opinion, a strong-worded opinion about IT in Nigeria, student industrial work experience scheme. Because that is what was embedded in the educational system for the student to see practical experience. So students need to understand how and why that they are studying engineering first, and how the study and practice of engineering will put food on their table before they can come together properly. The ones that are running the activities of engineering in Nigeria are practically doing it for maybe some other reasons. Now, if we actually, your question about why we don't have like engineering general, like the accountant general, is different. It's a different ballgame. why we have Attorney General and Accountant General is because those people respond to government-related interests. Now, engineering profession is not embedded in government because it's supposed to be entrepreneurial. We are the drivers of the economy. We are not supposed to be policed. We are not supposed to be governed by anybody. We are the drivers of the economy. We are supposed to be working like a different random units of operation, working in different sectors, everybody in their own units, in their own team, in the organization, working, producing and inventing something to make life better. So the system of governance anywhere, even abroad, don't control entrepreneurs. The only control that entrepreneurs have is regulation, basic regulations. And in engineering, we are given COREN. So COREN has the independent power to make regulations for engineers. We are very powerful as a profession, but we don't explore those powers. So it's just that we don't need to have an engineer general because we already have COREN. So, but the problem is that COREN and all the engineering related organizations are not living up to their responsibilities. I tell them anytime I have opportunities to tell them. So the issue now is that we are the ones that relegated ourselves to the background by the virtue of education that we were given in our universities. And COREN has come to change that, to change the education that our children will receive in our engineering faculties to become an outcome based, so that way these students can start producing things, can start inventing things, that start drawing attention to themselves globally and nationally. They can start receiving an award. Their discoveries, their inventions will start speaking for them, and that way they will have a platform. Today, somebody in America who founded Facebook is called upon, and Twitter, they are called upon to regulate social media by the government. So if we invent things, government will come to us and ask us how things can be done differently. Then on the second note, we must also speak up through NSE and COREN in any way we can. We know our voices are low, but we need to make them hear us and demand that they continue to bring the practice of engineering national cadre. You can't talk about diversification of the economy without talking about engineering. It's wrong. What are you diversifying? What technology are you going to use? What tools are you going to use to do your agriculture? What are you talking about? How are you talking about building with asphalt when there are concrete? Who is testing the concrete? We have a lot of things to pursue, different areas of engineering to pursue. So you can't talk about mining, you can't talk about anything without engineering. It's the bedrock of every economy. So we need to make NSE, we need to make COREN understand that they know already because they are working hard, they have done OBE, they have changed the act, so they are trying, but they know, but we need to put more fire and more pressure on them, so that we all of us, the profession will come up. If the profession comes up the way it is in the US and America, we don't need to draw attention ourselves. Government will pay engineering firms to do researches for them, to do consultancies for them in any area of your innovation. So that is it. I hope I've been able to add. Yeah, I hope Ethan, please go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. My name is Ethan. Also a registered engineer. I think what I see here, mostly in Nigeria, everything is all about interest. And I really don't know. I've seen something that I've been trying to, imagine how it comes about, like COREN and NSC as a different body. Because like if you look at other professions, I think they have one body. You look at the lawyers, you look at the accountants, but in our own, we happen to be kind of divided, because even when you look at NSC and current, you see that they are really not working together. This one has his own interest, this one has their own interest. Right? I even noticed recently, because after I happened to be registered with the current, I realized a lot of things. If not that current had to push, nowadays, perhaps a lot of people will not even be able to register as engineers because of these factions and all of that. And all the others, and another thing I am seeing there, you mentioned it the other time about what we do, like when we are in school, what we study here and what is obtainable abroad, which is so clear. Here, the problem we're having is we don't have a foundation. We don't have a good foundation. We don't have a good structure. And the government, as we know, are not helping matters. Everything is about corruption. And this is not really helping matters, because if we have a good structure and everything is put in place, we have an enabling environment for our students to study. You go to school, you see everything you need. You see, we went through, like you said, you go through a school, you said you are studying engineering, and you see what you are studying in school. Even you go to the lab, everything is outdated, You can't, how can you meet up with international bodies that are doing research every day, renewing their innovation, their inventions and all of that every now and then? Everything, you go to our universities, everything is desolate. So that's the problem we're having. I think it's not just about the body per se. What I see in Nigeria is just the corruption that we don't have structure on ground. That's what really drawing us back.
Thank you very much, Ethan. I agree with you. In fact, a research I did discovered that, what was it again? I'm trying to remember the title of that research. Okay, it discovered that corruption is one of the fundamental challenges that we have in developing the skills and competencies that engineers need to practice engineering profession. This is one of the articles that is being reviewed currently. It will be submitted to Coren when it comes out. It's being reviewed by a professional foreign journal. So one of the discovery that article made, that research made, is that it pointed to corruption, like you said. Corruption is one of the challenges that engineers have. We interviewed about, we got souvenir from 150 engineers, and we interviewed 30 engineers, and later another 10 to validate that research. So corruption ranked top. Nepotism, tribalism, all the rest of all those things that make up bribery. There is a lot about corruption. Corruption is a big issue. I actually wrote a strong opinion about corruption, but when you are much lesser, you can go and read it on the blog. So that is called ethics and compliances in construction and engineering and construction management. So no, engineering and construction industry. So you go and read it. Corruption is a big challenge. So people don't want people to progress or to develop, to get to go for trainings in government agencies because of favoritism and all the rest of it. So yes, it's an identified problem. So, and how do you address corruption? It's through transparency. So, and how can we bring transparency? It's to an extent through profile management. That's one of the recommendations of that study, that profile management through an ICT, whereby an update of the level of development as an engineer and your level of accomplishment, your education is being managed in a database by Coren. So if you're requesting to go for further training, your database, your level of attainment, knowledge attainment in engineering, is there. It's like a rank. I don't know whether in the military it's like a rank. So the more you develop yourself as an engineer, like if you finish this finish this program and have your MSc, your MBA or your MEng, nobody knows. Current registered you, but they don't know that you now have your masters. If you have your PhD, that's your business. Current does not know. If you're a professor, your business, current does not know. If you have done some technical skills, current does not care. If you've done some managerial skills, you've done your Prince 2, you've done your PMP, you've done all your managerial courses, current does not know, they don't care. The database is not updated. So how will you progress? How will you become a professor in engineering practice if there is no database of knowledge being managed? That is part of the recommendations of that research. And hopefully, when that research is submitted to current, they will be able to pick one or two things and learn. As per corruption, God will help us, God willing, because you cannot fight corruption without a tool. So it's only when you have a database of managing knowledges that you can now say, okay, Mr. B is due to go for so training. Why has he not gone for that training? So there is no database. So, and that is one of the things that current will do to eliminate the corruption. It's only when you start asking questions, you start solving corrupt problems, okay? So gradually, we can't solve all our problems in one day, but gradually, starting just talking about it as we are talking about it in this course is part of the process, because whether they like it or not, there's no way change will not come. They will hear us and will speak. Okay, so let us continue to talk about this. Let us use every platform and every opportunity that we have, because as an engineer, you have gone to university, you've studied engineering for 5 years. You are an engineer. You cannot go and labor for 5 years without having passion for it. And many of us are like doctors. We are even bigger than doctors. We are the second God, because God created things, and engineers are the second God that create things that God did not create. So it's a big profession and it's a huge responsibility, and we cannot leave it. We'll continue to talk and talk until people listen to us. Okay? So, but the journey is going to be long. It might not happen in our lifetime, but we have started the process and you are part of the process.
Yeah.
Okay, Francis, go ahead, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Honestly, when I raised my hand, I jotted down some issues, and along the line where my fellow CEOs, why they made their contributions and asked their questions, you tried answering some of those issues. Number one is that you've already told us that there's an act which will allow for policies, procedures, and the development of out-based engineering education.
Yes.
Because that's where I wanted to say that one of the issue whereby we are reprogrammed the way engineers are reprogrammed, that if any issue or any problem is brought to you, the first thing is to translate it from idea to mathematics. I'm talking from myself. I have to bring it down to numbers. I want to use numbers to solve it. And you see that time is of essence. And if you change time, it will turn to money. You now leave the business objective of what you are asked to do, and you are busy trying to prove a point by numbers. It becomes very challenging. It restricts and it confines such a person to a particular line of thought or line of reasoning. So I see, and you cannot undertake when you do not understand. So I think the basic thing is the ignorance. We are really ignorant of business. Honestly, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Francis. I'm a project manager with Domalong Engineering. Yes, fortunately, I'm from Newi in Anambra. So by location or by geography, I'm supposed to be a core businessman, but that is not the true picture. And there is this thing in me that I still want to do that business. You understand? But you see, you cannot really undertake when you do not understand, when you do not have the adequate empowerment and via information or training. So one of the things I am recommending, I thank God you are just you are planted in Koren, and it becomes easier for us to continue to share this information. We must really take it down to the grassroots. Whatever be the education being cascaded to the smaller ones, down to the time we do our masters, and we must have this. It must have a business sense. It must have a business overview. There should be business acumen around everything, because that is value. Value that is transformed to value that is transformed to numbers. That's how we can actually function well in entrepreneurship. You understand? That is one thing. Then another thing I wanted to say is that project management, you are talking about body of knowledge. I see one of the problems of Koren, in as much as there are regulatory bodies, but I feel that before you set up a regulation, there should be a plan, because you cannot control or regulate what you don't have a plan for. You understand? So where am I coming from? If PMI, like Project Management Institute, if they have a body of knowledge that they review by year, continue to upgrade it, and allows every other person that want to practice project management as a profession to understand the basic ideas, the basic philosophy, the fundamentals that guide every other person in that sphere. And these things are being upgraded, just like as you mentioned that the apps are they upgrade them and they inform us through advert and publicity, and we want to upgrade so that those features that they have imputed behind the scenes can actually be enjoyed and possibly be paid for. You understand? So Koren needs not only to be a regulatory body by only allowing people to bring in their junks or bring in their own personal ideas into the body. There should be a plan already. There should be a test or criteria. Anybody that wants to meet up their expectation or their requirement, if they meet up those requirements, then this certification can be given. And those requirements should be the basis for check, should be a basis for regulation. I saw in their motto, they said they are to design, to build and maintain for progress. None of those things are there, because what I see people, anybody that wants to apply will always bring in your thesis and rest of it. Somebody reviews. What forms the basis for the review and the approval and the certification? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So if we borrow from PMI, which is a body of knowledge with a lot of sources of information and being gathered, and at the end of the day, they will be able to come up with a body of knowledge that guides all the engineers in Nigeria now, for instance. Now that those engineering practice or those engineering body of knowledge will be relative with what is happening or practice elsewhere. We'll find out that it will be easier for somebody to pick up a document and say, look at the fundamentals where we are supposed to even start from. And in those fundamentals, business will be captured. In those fundamentals, politics will be captured. In those fundamentals, the basic technicalities will be captured. It will help somebody to be thoroughly grounded, that if you really want to really demonstrate this, somebody will not come and say, this is the way we are doing it in our organization. Or if you're not doing it this way, you're not getting it. And somebody will say, this is the way we are doing in the organization. At the end of the day, there will be chaos. So those are my the two contributions I wanted to bring in. Then finally, where in the course of your lecture, you talked about what we understanding the business objective before we begin to design or begin to do a project or begin to produce any product or do any service or render any service. PMI already has that in stakeholder management, because if you cannot just want to just start to build something where you have not initiated, you have not really initiated. In that initiation phase of that project, you've already considered who will benefit, how does it benefit them, what problem will this thing solve. And when you consider all those indices and criteria, it will help you to go back to develop, design, and continue to improve so that you'll be able to satisfy those customers. So those are my contributions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis. And I'm very happy that you know your PMI very well. It's a very wonderful thing that he has said in his submission. Like I said, we are all learning. All of us are learning. You know, this is a very interactive course. We learn from each other. Now, some of the things I don't hold brief for Koren. I actually have a senior colleague of mine at UNN who is now the vice president. That's how I get to understand how Koren works. And I happen to have my private office in Nigerian Society of Engineering headquarters. That's how I get to understand how they work. And I purposely wanted that so that I can be very close to them and understand them. And because Nigerian Society of Engineers and Koren were the database that I used, they provided the people that I used to do my research during my PhD. So that is how the relationship, it looks as if we have a relationship, or I got to understand them and how and what happens in these two organizations. So I don't hold brief for them. I just share my limited knowledge about them and the limited access I have from them. Now, I agree with you completely when you said that Koren, like PMI and like APM, Association for Project Management, the UK one, then and CIOB, Chartered Institute of Building, and all the rest of them are scattered all over the world. Koren must take a lead from these people. They have, it's not just putting it in your act that continuous professional development. How? Who are the resource persons? How are they monitored? What is the knowledge being given out to engineers? Are they up to standard? Who are giving them? Are they making progress? Are they impacting the engineers? So you cannot just make a law, I agree with you on that, without implementing and monitoring the law that you are making. So, and also, like you said, which I've already talked about, there must be a database. NSE has a database, Koren has a database, but they need to upgrade it to reflect all the achievements of engineers. If an engineer gets his PMI certificate, it should be recognized by Koren. If he gets his APM Prince 2, Koren should know and update it that this engineer, if the engineer is satisfied, is an ethical engineer, Koren should know. So that tomorrow, if the engineer is in private practice or in public practice, the engineer, if we're looking for engineers who will focus in one area of study to help the engineering profession, if we want to send a team of engineers from Nigeria to America, to Pakistan, to Russia to go and learn something, we will open this database and look at engineers and their discipline and their competencies and the knowledge and the skills that they have, and use that database to select our best to go for those training, because their brains are already open to assimilate the information, because that is their area of specialization. Like for instance, now if you can't go and take me for a training that has to do with structural design, water distribution, electrical distribution, in as much as I have some basic knowledge about them, I will not be interested. I'll be sleeping in the class. I will honestly be sleeping in the class, or probably be reading another article in entrepreneurial engineering or construction management. I'll be in the class of design. I'll be reading construction management article. I'll be writing my posts, because these are my areas. These are things that I'm passionate about. So that's how we're going to eliminate corruption. Because if you pay somebody to go and do a training that person is not willing to do, it's a waste of resources, and you've killed an opportunity for someone else who is willing and qualified to do that training to do that training. And whenever we train people and bring them back, we should learn to share knowledge. We should develop knowledge sharing culture in engineering. So, and that's that. I don't know whether anybody has any other question. Ifan, your contribution is very wonderful. And every other person that have contributed or asked questions, your questions are very wonderful. I'm sure that in course of time, either maybe for us or for our children, Korean will continue to make progress. Yes, there is politics, there is selfish interest, there is ulterior interest in the leadership of engineering practice in Nigeria. But a time will come when all those things will be overtaken by events. I have faith and confidence in this discipline, in this profession, and we should also know that it is up to us to pursue those things. As entrepreneurs, since we found gap in what Korean is doing, we can collectively as a team or some group of 5 people can team up and focus a project, a passionate project in that area. We can develop software that will manage database and augment update on skills acquired and competencies and certificates acquired and present it to Korean. I love Nigeria because there is an abundance of problem. So we're not looking for problem as entrepreneurs to invest into. There is an abundance of problem. So you can work with a colleague and develop all those things. A friend of mine is doing a software, camera software that can be capturing potholes in Nigeria. So that camera software is now augment its database, and then also once you go into it, it tells you where every potholes are, their dimension and all those things. He's a road engineer and he works with Ministry of Works. So we talked and he told me his PhD research area. I told him, no, you are a road engineer. Don't just do, even if you want to do construction management, look at how it will impact on practical things, the things that human beings can relate to. How have you addressed a problem? Don't go and waste 3 years doing PhD and repeating the same theory that Isaac Newton repeated. No, what are you bringing to the table? What are you adding to the body of knowledge? What are you offering to engineering as a profession? What is happening in Nigeria? How can you address those challenges? That is the question we continue to ask ourselves as engineers. And by the time we individually or collectively as a team address those things, then we would have made progress. We would have been successful as engineers because our problem, our responsibility, our core mandate as engineers is to solve human problems. So, in absence of any other question.
Observation, please.
Yes, what do you want to observe, Mr. Solomon?
Yeah, sorry, it's the usual, I don't want to be a thorn on your flesh, but I must, first of all, I want to point out that, yes, it's actually an online class, so there's a lot of factors that could play out. For instance, so a lot of people are outside right now calling me on phones that I should, but I didn't want to interrupt you. That's why I will plead that from time to time, sir, maybe in the next contacts, from time to time, if you see people wanting to join, you admit them into the class, because a lot of people might, maybe a network issue or something. It's not as if they intentionally want to leave the class or something. So the idea of after 2 o'clock, if anybody does not join, you will not admit that person. Please, I want to plead that that may not hold here, because it's an online class. It's not a physical class. So many factors can affect. In fact, your lecture is the first seamless lecture we've had today. Other lectures we called break, network, and all that. So it's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault. So I plead, please, in subsequent classes, even if it is 2 o'clock, as you said, please don't do that, because a lot of people are outside, they are waiting to join. I have received, while this lecture is, while you were talking, I've received more than 10 phone calls. People are calling, please tell him to allow us in, but I cannot interrupt you, please. And even the prof is outside waiting.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you, Governor. And you know, some of these classes you teach it in the spirit. If you interrupt, you interrupt the flow. You interrupt the flow of knowledge. So I've taken note of your submission, and I will try always to look at look at that, and always actually I've been doing it. A lecture is going on, but I cannot always focus on it all the time. So, and also that's one of the reasons why I actually would have recommended to, which I would do, to tell the PRO that it is better the school is managing the Zoom than the lecturer managing the Zoom. The lecturer needs to focus on driving the knowledge in, and instead of allowing people in and out, you know, because that is a form of distraction even for the lecturer. So, but I'll have that sorted out with the PRO and find a way we can update this technology. No problem. It's a huge progress, and I'm glad that we had a very interesting class. So in our subsequent class, we are going to be looking at some of these skills that I've told you guys that are needed for becoming a successful entrepreneurial engineer. So we're going to identify them. You know, when I was talking, I was mentioning intentions, I was mentioning creativity, I was mentioning innovations, I was mentioning motivation, which is very, very important. So we're going to review all these skills and competencies, and also look at the other skills and competencies that are required to be a successful engineering and construction project manager. So the research that we did with Nigerian Society of Engineers propped up the top skills in these areas that are needed. So we're going to look at them, look at the literature, skills and competence that are up in the literature, then know how we can understand them and what they mean. Things like team building, risk-taking, motivation, and the rest of them, communications. These things are skills that you need. Business plan development, and all the rest of them. What and what should be in your business plan and all that. And how do you convince someone to invest in your business plan? So we're going to look at them in the next contact and in the upper contact. So by the end of this course, you guys would have understood and can boldly call yourself an entrepreneur or an entrepreneurial engineer, which is a double cap. You saw the cap I put up there is a double cap for you. So you guys are welcome, and I look forward to your next contact. Any other question?
One other thing, sir. Yes. Sorry, sir. I observed that this session is recorded.
Yes, I record my section.
And so, oh, beautiful. And that's very fantastic. I don't know if it's possible to share the recorded video with us so that we can always play it at our leisure times and then get some more points from what you've said, what we've discussed so far. And also the lecture notes. I don't know how we can get the entire lecture notes so that even the next lecture, so that we'll get the lecture note, look at it, and then digest some things so that when we'll be more interactive than what we have today.
Yes, I actually attached some articles for guys. I attached some articles. Those articles are very expensive. Some of them are like $30. Some of them are $19. Some of them are $20-something. So they cost me to acquire. So I need you guys, and I'm not actually supposed to share them with you guys, but I need you guys to have them, because for you to become a successful entrepreneurial engineer, you have to read wide and understand. So you save them in your phones. I've given them to the school. So save them in your phone, and the copy of this presentation slide and some of the notes, bullet point notes. This is supposed to be a lecture. I'm not supposed to write plenty notes for you. So just have all those articles and read them at your leisure. Maybe 30 minutes before you sleep on your bed, put them on your phone, not laptop. I've realized by my personal behavior that phone is better for working students like us than even laptop. So because for articles, you may not have the time to sit properly and be in the mood of study to go through them. Maybe you're in a boring meeting, you can open your phone and be reading your article. It's just an article. So when you read it, your knowledge will be open and you can do further studies if you want, and you can have a basic understanding of what the whole thing is all about. So try and read those articles when you have them. And subsequently with the other coming lectures, you will have also articles on all those topics that will also be discussed. And like I said, I record my videos. I will upload them perhaps for you guys on my private YouTube channel so that you can click them and watch whenever you want. It's going to be private because this is a private class. So if I upload them there, then I will give you guys the access to it so that you can watch and watch and watch whenever you want to refresh your memory on the lectures on different contacts that we have. Is that okay?
Yes.
It's okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
So I would like to ask, are we going to use the same credentials for the next contact, or is it going to change?
Can you come again, sir? Oyadele, I didn't hear you well.
Yes, I'm asking if we're going to use the same credentials for login credentials for the next contact, or it's going to change.
Okay, the materials.
No, the login credentials.
No, the login credentials. No, before that time,
Yes.
I would like to, I'm communicating with the school, with the PRO, but I would like my contact details on the slide. You will see my WhatsApp and my email address. I would like the school governor or the deputy governor to write me later, either on WhatsApp or on this, so that while I share the content of the lectures with the school, I'll also copy you guys so that you guys can start reading them and getting ready for the lecture, or post-lecture, you can also read them if you want to refresh your memory. So, and also perhaps if I can share the video on with your WhatsApp, whatever, I will do that, but I think it will be too lengthy, and I will not. I don't have that kind of resources. I'm not paid for that kind of resources. So what I would do is to upload it on a secured platform like YouTube and give you guys the link. Go and watch whenever you want to watch. Okay?
That flies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that would be the end of the class. Thank you for your participation, and I look forward to more interaction with you guys, the ones I didn't get to talk to.
Can I get your mobile? Can I get your mobile, please?
I told you that is on the material.
So on the first slide, material.
It's on the slide.
Yes, I can give you the mobile. I have it.
Okay.
So I can give it to you.
You can go to YouTube and get it as well.